Do you know those making an impact in your neighborhood? Maybe they're well known and established, or just getting started. Either way, let's chat. We'll be diving deep into their story, what fuels them, and how they help our community. Hi, I'm Krisha, host of Let's Chat. My goal is to connect those making an impact in the community with you, our listeners. Hi, everybody. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilly Wednesday evening. So grab a blanket or drink and get cozy. Tonight's guest is an amazing woman whose career accomplishments are just as big as her heart. She has given so much to our community and to others, tenfold and more. Please welcome newly retired Sheila Mastropietro, Office Director of the Lancaster branch of Church World Service. Hello.
Hi, Krisha. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, full disclosure, Sheila is my neighbor of 15 plus years. I don't even know. I've kind of lost track of how long.
It's been a while.
Yes. Wonderful neighbors, perfect neighbors. We could not have asked for more. Yes. She will, surprise you with some cookies in your mailbox and also always have sugar should you need some. She is that type. Well, thank you. I have wanted you on my show for a very long time, even before I've mentioned it to you. So you were on my list. So I appreciate you taking the time. Yes. Thank you for joining me. So I want to talk a little bit about your role. So let's kind of go back to the basics. What is Church World Service?
Church World Service. So we are Church World Service is actually much bigger than what we do. But what we do here in Lancaster is the Immigration and Refugee Program. Church World Service has whole another part where we do overseas work, disaster relief. But what we concentrate on here is the immigration and refugee side of things. And we are a nonprofit. We are faith-based. We resettle refugees and provide services and education, advocacy to immigrants and refugees in the Lancaster County and surrounding counties as well.
Yeah. So, I don't think I ever really knew, but initially it was a one-woman show. You brought CWS to Lancaster. Why did you choose Lancaster? How did that come about?
Well, I didn't really choose Lancaster. I applied for a job to a CWS Church World Service office in Philadelphia. And that office wanted to start a sub-office in Lancaster. And the reasoning was that there were so many churches, so many job opportunities, more affordable housing and living. And so they wanted to open an office in Lancaster.
What year was that?
That was 1987.
Ooh.
And a funny thing is that where we live now, of course, on West Walnut Street, right down the block at the corner of Concord and West Walnut is the house I lived in at that time.
Oh, that's
so CWS started in that house on the corner.
Wow.
Yeah, I was out of my house for a year before I found an office in a church. And then it wasn't until 19 years later where I moved to the office where the office is now on East King Street at the old Eastern Market building.
Market, yeah, by Tabor and over in that kind of area, in that joint building.
Tabor building.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, I never knew that. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
So, really, literally founded the Lancaster branch out of her house. That's really awesome. Yeah. How did you, so you just saw Church World Service online and applied. Were you familiar with them prior?
Krisha, this was 1987. It was not online.
That's true.
Yeah, this is the newspaper, the old school newspaper ad. Yeah, yeah. So I just gotten out of graduate school. I studied international relations, and I thought I would go overseas to work. And then I met who was to be my husband, my first husband. So I didn't want to go overseas. I wanted to stay here. Started looking for an international job, staying in Lancaster, and you're thinking what's that going to be?
Yeah, really.
So I found this, and although it was out of Philadelphia, they wanted the office in Lancaster, and that suited me, so I took it and opened my one-woman shop out of my house. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Props to West Walnut Street. So those early years of development, what did that feel like? Can you take me back to that time? Were you ever discouraged? Yeah. Did you want to be like, this is not for me? Or were you very diligent and always like, this is what I want to do?
I loved meeting people from other countries and helping them. Those are two things I really like, helping people and learning about other cultures. So I thought this is perfect for me. But I hadn't done anything like this before. I hadn't worked with international populations. I'd never lived overseas, as so many people that I had hired later on did. So it was all new, and it was discouraging at first. I thought, this is too different. This is out of my scope.
My comfort zone.
Out of my comfort zone, and I can't do this. And the only language I speak besides English is Spanish. And back then, there were no Spanish-speaking refugees. We had Cambodians, Vietnamese, we had Eastern European, like Romania, Czechoslovakian. So there was no need for my Spanish language or anything about that culture that I did understand. So it was discouraging. And there were times, I'll admit it, that I was searching for other work while I was doing that job. And then a couple of years in, I just thought, how can I leave this? It's so fascinating.
Right.
So rewarding, allows me to do so much. And I was pretty much on my own. I had a supervisor in Philadelphia who gave me a lot of free reign.
That's
so
nice.
And I got used to that, and the thought of going somewhere else to do something less interesting didn't appeal to me. And I'm so glad that I stuck it out. And after this first few years, it was like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Like this is it. Yeah. It's amazing how you have grown that branch. I mean, like you said, lone staff member, you oversaw the growth to include 29 staff members, providing service. You were part of developing 11 programs throughout the years. So initially, kind of like what was the main source of focus maybe for Lancaster Branch?
When I started, the idea was we had to get people to know about it. And we are a faith-based organization, although we've gotten a lot more secular, I want to say, over the intervening years. But back then, the idea was go to churches, tell them what your mission is, and get them involved, primarily sponsoring a refugee family. Yeah. So that's the other thing I had to do, is learn about the politics of different denominations around Lancaster. There are so many, Church of the Brethren, United Methodist, Presbyterian, Mennonite. So I had to learn how they operate, different hierarchies, and be able to talk to them sort of in their language. And that was easy. I didn't feel so at first, but it got to be easy. And I love talking to all the different groups within churches. It is amazing how open and accepting Lancastrians are. And I saw it first there within the churches, but later on, it got to be like everybody, it didn't matter if you were connected to a church. People are just open and want to help.
Yeah.
And that's what I found.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but we should say that we are available for questions. So if anybody has any questions, shoot them at Sheila. She can help. She is, though, retired, so we don't want to wear her out too much. That's a new role that we're going to talk about later. Do you have any advice for anybody in a nonprofit or starting a nonprofit or development planning roles?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the way I learned it, my major in undergrad was philosophy, and in graduate school, it was international relations and diplomacy. So I didn't have a background in running a business, or there's so much now that you can study in college in preparation for this, starting one or running a nonprofit or nonprofit management. So I am nervous to give advice to that, but it worked out for me. I think the main thing is that you have a true passion for the work that you're doing. And I don't see how you could do everything that you do in a nonprofit and so much work. Not to say that it's always that way, but it's a lot. And if you don't have that passion, you kind of don't have the energy to put into it that's necessary. And the feeling that it's rewarding too. If you didn't have that feeling for, that's the place I was meant to be, you would know might not work out. So you need that. You definitely need that.
It's definitely a passion driven field working in the nonprofit sector, because sometimes that financial end is not there. And so you gotta just keep going forward with the hope that there's growth and change. So yeah, I mean, talking about the growth, so hey, we have a question. Ooh, this is exciting. What were the first couple of weeks like after officially leaving your role? Ooh, we're jumping ahead. Okay, what was that like?
It just felt like a long vacation. I have to be honest. I still felt like I'm going to go back and have to keep up with this and that. But it was like, yay, I'm on vacation. And then it drew on and on and on. So honestly, I haven't gotten quite used to being retired. I definitely want to do something else in the community. And I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
So I feel just it's like I can sleep late, sleep till 7:30.
Right.
Feels good.
Nice. I know, right? That none of that, like maybe Sunday night dread. You're like, oh, right. No, it's just Monday.
Right. And I'm home for dinner every night. Husband's happy about that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, I don't see you darting in and out as much like I used to see you throughout the years. Do you stay in touch with any of the families you've helped?
I haven't yet. I have emailed some. There are so many, and I'm thinking of the one family in particular that I stayed in touch with. I really need to get up and see their new house. It's a Cuban couple who came, 1995 maybe. They bought their second home now. They're up on Delp Road. That's awesome. Had a son who's born here and very successful. I think he was an engineer, and now he's a supervisor at a local plant, and she works for a Spanish, there's a Spanish company from Spain in Lancaster County, and she works there. That's one family in particular, and there were others. There's a Romanian couple that I worked with a lot, lived in York County.
I was going to say, what does the percentage of, or I don't know if you know the percentage exactly, but to the bulk of people that you've helped over the years, do they stay in Central PA, or have they like branched out to other areas? So they kind of like come here. I don't know if there's like just a time frame really that you've noticed throughout the years.
Yeah. The populations are different. If there is a large community in a particular part of the U.S., a lot of times if that community is resettled here, they're drawn to that area. Gotcha. But when we establish a nice sized community, then people tend to stay unless a close relative is somewhere else. So when we had the Cubans we were bringing in the 90s, many stayed. There's a large Cuban population here. Vietnamese, Cambodian, Russian Christians, a large community in northern Lancaster County that stayed. We brought Bosnians that are still here. A lot of Burmese, Nepali, Bhutanese. Yeah. You see them in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it's really awesome, actually. I really like it.
Yeah, so I'd say the majority stay, but there are reasons, family and friends, that pull them to other parts of the country. There's also a very large Arabic community outside of Detroit. So Syrians and Iraqis that we have resettled here often end up there.
I did not know that. Yeah, Sheila has helped to resettle over 6,000 refugees or asylum seekers. So that is amazing. I thank you so much for that. And I know it didn't come all at once, but that's that is cheers to that. So in 2016, resettlement peaked in Lancaster County at 407 newcomers in 2016. That's 20 times more the capita than the rest of the country, and prompting the BBC to call Lancaster the refugee capital in the world. And things seemed to be wonderful and great, and we were oh so proud of that. I think as a county, we're still proud of that. And then also in 2016, something else happened called the Trump administration, and resettlement dwindled. So let's visit that time when you're kind of at the height of the game, and then all of a sudden you're just kind of, bam, like that was a pretty abrupt halt.
That was terrible. It was the Syrian crisis that brought on 2016 in the summer of 2016 in the fall, and then the child that was whose body was washed up in the Mediterranean.
Yes.
It was so sad, and such a need. And the United States had always been the country who stepped up and offered to open our doors for more and more and more refugees. So that was under the Obama administration, and at that time, the Obama administration upped the numbers from 75,000 to 95,000, and then to 115,000, so that we could help more, because refugees will go to neighboring countries who aren't necessarily equipped or have the resources that we have in the U.S. To take care of them. And that's what was happening. Jordan, Egypt, they were overwhelmed. Yeah. So that was excellent that Obama increased the numbers, and then immediately, and then the big upset, Trump won the election, came into office. One of his first priorities was to dismantle the refugee program. So he started by the Muslim ban, no Muslims could come in. And then it went on to the travel ban for 3 months, no refugees were going to come in. So we fought hard. We did so much advocacy, and we had to, there was a little cutting back I had to do. I mean, I never had to lay anyone off.
I know, my heart hurt a lot for you. That was one of my first thoughts of like, oh man, this is going to affect somebody that I know in my personal life a lot. On top of, personal, professional.
And that was just the beginning of it. For the next 4 years, next 3.5 years, it was one thing after another with the number of refugees who could come in, or why they could or couldn't come in, or tearing families apart, and not doing the interviewing overseas that's necessary. It was, taking people away from that. And one thing after another. I mean, seriously, I feel like every month during those 3.5 years, there was something new to stem the arrival of refugees and immigrants too, of course.
Yeah, it was exhausting. Do you shift your focus more then on those who are here to continue helping them?
We did a lot of shifting over the years. We got some money to help the evacuees from Puerto Rico during Hurricane Maria. So we were able to do that for about a year, help them get jobs and resettle here. We started new programs. We started working with children, unaccompanied minors who were crossing the southern border. We supplied, and we still do, supply legal aid to them in the 2 shelters in southeastern Pennsylvania that we serve. So we got money to do that. So we kept alive by taking on other missions, wanting still to keep it in our wheelhouse with refugees or immigrants.
Right.
Some new employment programs, an English program. We started a translation and interpretation program that still is running.
That's awesome.
So that's what we were able to do. We were flexible without doing things that took us outside of our talents.
Right. So some glimpse of some silver lines there that maybe would have come someday, but not at that abrupt moment. Do you have a favorite success story, or any family that really kind of hits home to you?
There are so many, so many. But there was a recent one, and since you brought it up, there was a young man that I hired to be a refugee caseworker. His name's Omar Mohammed, and he talked to me about he has been with us the last 5 years of my time at CWS. He talked about writing his life story because he came here on his own with his younger brother. He was 19. His mother, he thought, was killed. His father, he saw killed in Somalia, and he was with his brother who has special needs. So he was his brother's guardian, and he was resettled in Arizona. And then we had an ad out, and so he moved from Arizona to Lancaster to take the job as a refugee caseworker with us. And then one time I had a phone call from an author, a graphic artist, who wanted to write a book about a refugee. This was in 2016 when refugees were really in the forefront. And I said, I think I know somebody that I could connect you with. So I connected Omar and Victoria Jameson, who's a Newbery Award-winning artist and author. And they wrote a book, and it's successful, and here it is.
That's a good connection. Yes. When stars are scattered. Oh, I love love that.
graphic novel, and it's really
That is really cool.
the drawings are so cool and the coloring. And I thought of this tonight, and I will say that my husband, Peter, also thought of it
Thank you, Peter.
and reminded me. Because tonight, this book is up for a National Book Award. And tonight or when they decide, and they're going to announce tonight at 7 o'clock, they're having a virtual ceremony.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
imagine if this refugee who never would have imagined this, wrote his life story, and just to be nominated is awesome. So maybe he'll win tonight. And
That would be
that's,
awesome. Oh,
yeah,
Omar, you have to
yeah.
come on my show too.
Yes.
If you're watching, Omar, I wish you lots of luck, and we're crossing all those fingers for you.
Definitely need to have Omar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have maybe what was the most trying time over the 33 years?
I know without thinking twice, it was January 2017. We all thought that something might happen, but we were telling ourselves, like, really, that's not going to be the first thing he does,
Yeah.
It was the first thing he did, like the first week. And we didn't know what was going to happen when he said, no, Muslims are coming, and we're going to stop all refugee arrivals for 3 months. At the end of that 3 months, I think it was July 1st, in that time period, that was the most trying time. Like, am I going to have to lay everyone off? Am I going to have to close the office? Will CWS...
What you fought so hard to,
Yeah, after all those years, at that point it had been, like 27 years. The office had been around helping, and community was so excited about helping. And
Yes. Well, can't keep a good thing down.
yeah, we made it. We made it through.
We did. And we're coming up on the extra give time here in Lancaster.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah, so I thought it was a great time to bring Sheila on during this time. And if you are so inclined, please do donate to Church World Services or Service. Well, I always want to add an S, but they do multiple work. Yeah, everybody does. But CWS has been very instrumental. I know they usually have big events. Is it strange not doing anything? How you personally being involved for Extra Give? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they are doing a scavenger hunt and also a virtual trivia night on Friday. So if you go to their Facebook page, CWS-Lancaster Refugee and Immigration, you could see those events and join in.
Cool.
But yeah, the Extra Give is so exciting for everybody. And that day in itself with Lancaster County Community Foundation and the party at the end, and it's just so amped up, and everyone's so enthusiastic and giving, and
I know.
and so I think it's going to be, knowing the Community Foundation, they'll keep it to be a really great event, and the county and the people who give, it'll be really awesome. But everyone should
participate. Give as much as you can. Yeah, absolutely. I know
CWS,
it's definitely become a family tradition, or tradition in my family. So I let my daughter decide she gets to pick who we do. So, which is kind of cool. We do a variety.
So neat.
Yeah, and I do give to the ones that are on the bottom as well. So I kind of scroll through the donations. But yeah, I do hope. I was like, oh, this is a great time to chat about Extra Give and CWS, and the month of November is kindness and thankfulness. So we're right on par with everything.
Yeah.
So this new phase of life for you, retirement. I know we're only like 2 months in.
2 months in,
it's early. So have you adjusted a little bit?
I'm still adjusting. Yeah, I do. One thing I wanted to do was see more of my family. My poor husband's put up with so much, me working 10-hour days.
Yeah.
And my daughters and my sisters, my grandchildren. And I have been able to do that, although it's been limited. I retired right at the middle of what I hope is only the middle of COVID. Yeah. So it's been kind of weird that I really wasn't able to travel. We had a trip to Ireland planned in September, my husband and I. I had to cancel that or postpone that.
Yeah.
Different day trips. I thought, I can go to New York and Washington, and I can go visit my sister in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not.
No.
Not, yeah.
We still got some time, luckily. And I'm glad to see that you guys aren't driving each other nuts yet. So that's...
No.
You can come hang out at our house anytime that you need a break from Peter. We love him dearly. But...
have an out there.
There you go. Yeah, so I know there were some expectations maybe on the grandma role for grandma daycare. That's what my mom calls it too, grandma daycare.
I'm so excited about that. Just couldn't find the time, just occasionally before, and I'm happy that I'm able to do that.
Yeah. Oh, that actually brings me up to a good point. There was a question that I wanted to ask earlier for women who are kind of feeling that overwhelm of working in as a full-time mother and mom, and in between these 33 years, you got two beautiful daughters that I've known since they were little. Any advice for working mothers and dealing with the overwhelm and juggling it all?
Well, one thing is that something has to give. Like, you can't keep your house perfect and go to the gym and raise two children or any more than that and do a good job at work. So you have to look at it. I love going to the gym. I've always done something athletic, and I kind of had to give that up for a while. I mean, I feel like you get enough exercise running after kids anyway.
That's true.
But you just can't do it all, I think. But those important things, doing a good job, serving the community and being there for your children and husband. Those are the important things.
The presents.
And that's
I miss those days of seeing you boxing.
I know. I miss it too, and that gym's closed too.
It's such a bummer.
Shout out to Barry.
Yeah, well, you definitely inspired me. I was like, well, if Sheila and Lexi can box, I can box too. And I finally did it. And then the shutdown happened.
Yeah. Get back to it. I want to get back to it when the things open up.
Any shout outs you'd like to give to anyone throughout the years who've supported you? Now's your time to say whatever you would like.
A big one is my husband, Peter Mastropietro. He really put up with a lot with me working long hours. And also my daughters, Alexia Detweiler, Cecilia Miller. They did so much. There was some things they had to do on their own, or not have me there when they got home from school. But I think they were affected by it in a good way, in a positive way. And their understanding of what they have and what other people have and is good now. I mean, they understand.
Yeah.
And they are willing to give more. So that's my family. That's my big shout outs.
Yeah. They're so proud of you too. And I know just on my personal level, the way that you welcomed my daughter and I, especially when I first had Brylan, I mean, in a heartbeat, you would have us come over and you would just kind of like kidnap Brylan sometimes and just take her over. And the girls watched her. And so that kindness and love that you hold in your heart, I got to experience. And so I know that you have done the work and that you're going to continue to push that out and share that in the community. And I think that Lancaster County as a whole and Central PA thanks you so much for everything you've done in your service.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. I mean, I'm so happy to have had such a career like that I love, and such a great neighbor, so don't go anywhere.
No, we don't have plans to. Not right now. You don't either. Thank you, Sheila, for joining me tonight. It was a pleasure.
Great.
And I appreciate you. And thanks for Peter.
Yeah. Thanks, Krisha and Candy Factory Collective.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Let's Chat is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective. You can find the show streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And you can subscribe to the audio version anywhere you get your podcasts.
Krisha Martzel is a photographer who believes in the power of women, the power of seeing yourself in a true, authentic, beautiful way through boudoir photography. She's the owner of Krisha Lynn Photography, a daily wear of the color black, foodie, and podcast lover.
Let's Chat is produced by the Candy Factory Collective at the Candy Factory Co-working Campus in Lancaster, PA. Production support by Anna Tran, administrative support by Ann Kirby, Ariana Henderson, Robert Diggs, and Jason Mundoff. Notes and links can be found on the show post at our website, candyfactorycollective.com. Candy Factory.
Collective.